Is it a message?
It says it's a geocache.
Oh, you know what those are for? Yeah, how about that? King Philip's. So somebody set up a cache.
Yep. So you write your name.
Yep.
And where you're from. You can leave a message and write the on today. This one.
It's just a notebook?
Yeah, it's just a little
Those
notebook.
people leave trinkets. Matchbox, jacks.
There we go. Good. So today is the 17th century meetup, group hike and talk with Don Doucette, naturalist par excellence, right?
Basically, I visited here.
King Philip's War by Schultz and Tugias, and in it he's describing Anawan's capture at Rehoboth, Massachusetts. And he writes, "Perhaps no site related to King Philip's War has been visited by as many people as Anawan Rock. Located about 100 yards south of Route 44 at Rehoboth, 6/10 of a mile west from the intersection of New Street, a small dirt parking lot leads to a footpath by which the rock is found." This was written 20 years ago. Notice nothing has changed. And
no gift shop, no.
right, no gift shop, no visitor center. A sign on the lot reads, "Anawan Rock, 1676, site of the capture of Wampanoag," we know that's wrong, "Indian Chief Anawan by Captain Benjamin Church on August 28, 1676, thus ending King Philip's War." The reason Wampanoag is wrong is that that name wasn't in use at the time. The story of Anawan Rock begins with Philip's death on August 12, 1676, after which the colonial troops began relentlessly hunting down the remaining bands of Algonquins hidden in the woods of Plymouth and Massachusetts Bay colonies. One of the most sought-after native leaders was Anawan, described by Church as a great soldier, a valiant captain under Massasoit, and Philip's chieftain all this war. Anawan was said to be quite old at the time of King Philip's War, though his spirit and vigor remained unquestioned. When Philip's camp was attacked in Bristol, Anawan hallooed with a loud voice, often called out,
Autas.
"Autas," thank you, "Auta."
Stand firm.
Stand firm. Anawan was shrewd enough to escape the scene of Philip's death and made his way to the remnants of Philip's people, perhaps 50 or 60 in all, to a camp on the southeasterly part of present-day Rehoboth. This site, protected on three sides by the Squannaconk Swamp, that's down there, had its northern boundary an imposing rock down which any intruder would have to scale to gain surprise entry to the camp. Well, they're talking about coming down this, but this isn't hard to get down. No. That's why the real rock was harder to get down. Captain Benjamin Church had returned to Plymouth after the death of Philip, but was summoned to Rehoboth when news was received that Anawan and his company had been spotted ranging about their woods. After capturing a number of Wampanoag, Church eventually learned the exact whereabouts of Anawan. Led by one of Anawan's own men, Church moved quickly on Monday, August 28th, to capture the chief who never roosted twice in a place. Church believed, and who often said, that he would never be taken alive by the English. Church, through his son Thomas, wrote a first-hand account of Anawan's capture, destined to immortalize not only Church, but Anawan Rock as well. And this is Church's writing. The old man had given Captain Church a description of the place where Anawan now lay, and the difficulty of getting at him. Being sensible that they were pretty near to him, with two of his Indians he creeps to the edge of the rocks, from whence he could see their camps. He saw 3 companies of Indians at a little distance from each other, being easy to be discovered by the light of their fires. He saw also the great Anawan and his company, who had formed his camp or kneeling place by falling a tree under the site of the great cliffs of the rocks, and setting a row of birch bushes up against it, where he himself, his son, and some of his chiefs had taken up their lodgings. The rocks were so steep that it was impossible to get down, only as they lowered themselves by the boughs and the bushes that grew in the cracks of the rock. Captain Church, creeping back again to the old man, asked if there's no possibility of getting at them some other way. He answered, no. Then he and all that belonged to Anawan were ordered to come that way, and none could come any other way without difficulty or danger of being shot. Captain Church then ordered the old man and his daughter to go down foremost with their blankets at their backs, and that when Anawan saw them with their baskets, he should not mistrust the intrigue. Captain Church and his handful of soldiers crept down again under the shadow of those two and their baskets. So that's Church's son's writing. Church captured Anawan and his band, secured their weapons, and then shared a meal with the great aged chief. In William Hubbard's version of the events published in 1677, Anawan confessed to a number of crimes against the English which would help to justify his execution a short time later in Plymouth. However, Church's first-hand account fails to mention any confession, showing instead the respect and admiration each man had for the other. In fact, what Church writes about is how the two men sat up all night trading war stories, okay, because they each appreciated each other. And Church did not believe that they would execute Anawan. He was taken to Plymouth, and within days he was executed. That is the last major skirmish in the King Philip's War. By that time, things were over. Philip was dead, Anawan was dead, and just about every native warrior had been captured, or many of them simply left the area. From 700 Pokanoket native people living around here, it was down to a handful at the end of the war. Any questions? So
this is the wrong rock.
This is the wrong rock. Well,
there is no access to the right rock?
No one has described it other than it's on private property and you can't get to it.
Okay.
This is public land. This is now I think the town of Rehoboth owns this, and quite a ways in there. We're going to head back, and if you can catch a glimpse through there, if you were to walk straight ahead after a rainstorm, there'd be water up to your ankles there. Okay, it's probably a lot drier now, but this was one of the many swamps around here. Why did native people love swamps?
Because the English hated them.
That's right. The English had no understanding of swamps. They got completely lost, bogged down. They're wearing heavy leather boots and clothing. It was just, they would do anything to avoid going into a swamp. Native people, do their way through, not a problem, So that's how Philip originally eluded the Church's army in Tiverton at the beginning of the war. Also, the handy thing about swamps is that in the wintertime, the water freezes and you can walk anywhere. The colonists began using swamps after they moved in here and started to understand things, because you could log in swamps in the wintertime. You wait till it's frozen, you get your ox and a skid and go into the woods, cut wood, and haul it out. So they began to appreciate them as well. Okay?
From what we've been told, Anawan was 80 when he was captured.
All right. That's the same age as Osamequin when he died.
Yep.
Yeah. Under
very long-lived
different circumstances.
People in the tribe.
Absolutely. Well,
we have so many elders in their 80s.
They, when Verrazano got here, he described everybody as very healthy. And if you looked at the men that came over on the ships with him, there was no comparison. They were little gnarly little guys there, and just full of, they live on hardtack and biscuits and, just terrible diet and, what have you. Whereas people here, tall, robust, a healthy.
Sycamore ever told you about how he loves the word that Verrazano used to describe us, not godliest. He said we were the goodliest.
Goodliest people you'd ever seen.
Because
That's
we
right.
were hale, healthy, strong.
You got it.
Smart, and always thank the Creator for everything that.
Absolutely.
And I just had a bug fly in my mouth.
Good. Okay, let's go.
Archaeologists went in and did the contract work